This is an initiative of the Graduate Student Committee at NARST. So NARST is a global organization that is dedicated to supporting research in science, teaching, and learning. So all things science, we want to encourage people to um, to love science, to get engaged in STEM um, careers. So this is our 10th of this Career Steps webinar series. And it is what it is. There's a quote that if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giant. And this quote is attributed to Isaac Newton. Sometimes when we are walking along the path of life, thinking about the careers ahead, we're uncertain of what's ahead. But when we stand on the shoulders of giant, as Isaac Newton puts it, we're able to go farther. We are fortunate every month to have guests like Dr. Michael Johnson who've gone ahead, either in academia or industry, and they can share their wisdom with graduate students or postdocs, and so that we can be able to see further and go farther. So as I mentioned, our guest speaker today will be Dr. Michael Johnson. She's a regulatory medical writer at Johnson & Johnson, and she will share more about her journey and her experience. So the structure, I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure of this Career Steps webinar series so that we understand how everything will flow. So the graduate student at NAST understands that navigating the transition from graduate studies to a fulfilling career can be overwhelming. We know that there are countless opportunities and possibilities out there. Academia, industry, government work, nonprofits, and beyond. So often graduate students find themselves uncertain about which path to pursue or even how to begin. But the Graduate Student Committee recognizes this challenge and is proud to offer these Career Steps webinar series. These are engaging monthly webinar series designed to illuminate multiple career trajectories, offer practical guidance, and foster meaningful connection within NAST members community and beyond. This webinar series um, features accomplished PhDs like Dr. Micah and seasoned NAST members who have traversed the journey that some of you are beginning. And by sharing their personal stories, complete with the challenges they faced, pivotal moments, and unexpected opportunities that came up along their way, our speakers bring to life the myriad routes to career success. More than just being a mere inspiration, these sessions provide concrete strategies and resources and networks that you can leverage as you craft your own path. After all, I think we know that one meaningful connection can be that spark that redefines your career trajectory. I see we have more members joining us here now. So I'll begin shortly, but this is how we will run the session. We'll have 20 to 30 minutes where we hear from our guest about her career journey. She will share insights into key decisions and turning points and offer practical advice for graduate students. And then after those 30 minutes, we'll have time for question and answers where participants can ask questions. Remember, you can type your question into the chat and I'll read that for you, or you can unmute yourself and ask away. So thank you again for joining us. And without further ado, I'd like to open the floor for Dr. Micah to speak to us today.
Yeah, hi everyone. And thank you, Collins, for that. I think we spoke several months ago and you asked me to do this, so glad that we could make that work. And yeah, I really appreciate the invitation. And I've been reading the different areas that everyone's from, and that it looks like you have pretty good coverage. So that's awesome. I'm actually based in Texas now. So I think when you and I spoke, I was in California, but recently I've relocated to Texas. So um, yeah, just sharing that for everyone. So hi, my name is Micah, as Collins mentioned. I am going to, I didn't prepare a PowerPoint today, but I thought I could just share my career journey and then I'll just leave it to you guys to let me know what you'd like me to elaborate on. I can answer any questions, give any advice, things like that. I'm happy to keep it pretty informal and low key, I think, as people say. So, as Collins mentioned, I am a regulatory medical writer at Johnson and Johnson, but I kind of had this dual role. So I'm a regulatory medical writer, but also an AI operations analyst, and I'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. So, I completed my PhD in neuroscience at the University of Iowa. I spent several years there doing preclinical research. We were using neurophysiology, um, to characterize or essentially make brain maps, of different disease states. And I focused on migraine and depression. So, that's what I did during grad school. I was my PI's first grad student, so had a lot kind of just thrown at me. Was always super busy. But during that time, I realized something important pretty early on. I realized that I hated being at the bench. I didn't really want to pursue a career in or doing bench work long term. So that kind of shifted my goals towards more of industry. What I did enjoy while I was in grad school was everything like kind of around the science. So, writing up the results, sometimes analyzing it, figuring out the bigger picture, and deciding really what comes next and communicating that. I also enjoyed the project management aspect of it. So, managing these complex projects across different collaborators, that was kind of what I looked forward to every day. So, as my PI's first grad student, I wore lots of different hats. I helped build the lab from the ground up. I managed several projects. I had a hand on literally every project that came out of the lab. And I was, of course, working across multiple different studies at the same time. And that experience was really great. At the time, I maybe didn't think so, just because I was just doing a lot. But it really pushed me um, to really think deeply about the things that I truly enjoy doing. That kind of pushed me towards roles that can combine science, communication, and strategy, instead of like more of the traditional like bench work, as I mentioned. And so once I figured out that I wanted to transition to industry, of course, nobody really in grad school could or helped me out with that. Like they didn't really know as much because they hadn't experienced the industry for themselves. And so I joined this program called Scientist Mentoring and Diversity Program. I believe now they've changed the name to Scientist Mentoring and Development Program. But regardless, it's called SMDP. And that's where I was able to connect with a lot of industry professionals. And I really got a much clearer sense of what paths were out there and what things I could maybe see myself doing. And so from there, that's where I kind of started targeting more medical writing and broader roles in general, just in drug development. That was what I wanted. I wanted to move a little bit away from the preclinical stuff and do something that I felt was more impactful. And so, like a lot of people transitioning out of industry, I kind of hit a wall at first. I realized that that's what I wanted to do, but during the end of grad school, I was applying to lots of different positions at the same time. I was getting interviews, but I kept hearing like that I didn't have enough experience, which was tough. You know, you do 5, 6 years of a PhD, and then that's kind of the last thing you want to hear. I found myself in this position where I was getting ready to graduate. I didn't really have anything lined up. And so I ended up joining a medical writing training program. That program allowed me to actually build a portfolio of clinical documents that I could submit alongside my applications when I was applying. And then it also just gave me a better overview of um, clinical authoring and like what happens in the drug development process. I think it did a really great job at that. And at the same time, I kind of the AI boom was happening, and so I just always kind of operated with like this um, thirst for more knowledge or genuine curiosity. At the time, that company was developing their own medical writing platform that used AI to author different clinical documents. Just me asking questions about it led to me being able to help develop it. I gained those skills as well out of the internship, and I was able to talk about it. And I was unemployed at the time, so around the same time, I also started working in AI, like just training the models. So there was a big push for hiring like prompt writers or engineers. I forget what they called it. But that really allowed me to help enhance like my prompting skills and then also gain a little bit of like back end knowledge at the same time. So I worked with companies like Outlier and also XAI, and that ended up giving me like a really good experience. Like I got better at writing, and then I also learned a lot about AI during that time. That led me to apply for another internship, this time with Genentech, which is another pharma company. During that internship, they gave me kind of a whole breadth of experiences in terms of medical writing. I was able to rotate amongst different fields within medical writing. Medical writing is huge. There's a lot of subfields within it. And so I got to experience like pretty much all of it during that internship. But then they also knew that I had the experience kind of working with AI. And so this is kind of the beginning of the intersection between AI and medical writing. They had software developers or like a team of software developers working on an internal platform there to also generate these clinical documents. They allowed me to do my regular internship, what I was hired on for, but then also help out with that. So that involved a lot of like collaboration with cross-functional teams and really contributing to building AI tools for authoring these clinical documents. I was only there for a short amount of time, but during that time, I was able to really position myself very well to where I kind of became like the quote unquote expert or like the person that was able to liaise between the medical writers and then also the software developers. And I was really just using the skills I had picked up during grad school. But I positioned myself as kind of an expert in that domain. And so they kept coming to me with like questions and they would look to me for a lot of that stuff. At the time, I kind of put a little bit on my LinkedIn profile. I couldn't put a ton because when you're in industry, you can't disclose everything, of course. But I put enough on my profile, and I was actually reached out to by a recruiter. So that recruiter was looking for someone that was able to joined Johnson and Johnson as an AI operations analyst in regulatory medical writing, and that was essentially the same thing that I was doing at Genentech. So I was still in my internship. I went in and applied for it just kind of with the mindset of like, well, I would love a position like this. Let's see, if they will invite me for an interview. If they do, I just want to see like what types of things that they're looking for in a candidate because I signed on for a 1 year internship and I had planned to continue the rest of it. But then after after I completed my interviews, I ended up getting a job offer. And it was just like a job offer that was kind of too good to be like to pass up, to be completely honest. So I was in this position. Johnson and Johnson wanted me to start like pretty much 2 weeks after getting the job offer. And so I had loved my position at Genentech and everything. And I was like, oh man, this is kind of a weird situation. I wasn't really sure how to navigate that. And luckily, I had my mentors from the SMDP program, and she kind of coached me through it. I ended up having to essentially like go to my manager at Genentech and say like, hey, I got this offer. And if you guys can't match it, then I have to resign. And that's essentially what ended up happening. They wanted to keep me on, but they couldn't make it happen in such a short time window, which was completely understandable. Um, and so fast forward to now, I've been in my role for I think it's been almost 6 months now, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I work as an AI operations analyst in regulatory medical writing, and my role is basically the at the intersection of like science, writing, and technology, which is just something that I never thought would be my career path, and it's still like a relatively new field. But I think this is where the field is headed, and my day-to-day looks very different sometimes. I'm constantly working with medical writers, the vendors that have created the tool that we use, the product that we use. So a little bit of product management, and then also key stakeholders within the organization to kind of control the messaging, making sure that we're in compliance, and that nothing is like compromised. So again, this is all improving AI tools and taking like data and user feedback to guide decisions. So it's very different than what I did during grad school, but I liked it enough, I guess, that I'm still here. And I think there's a lot of upswing for it in the future. And yeah, so I wanted to keep this as like informal as possible because when I was like in grad school and attending these types of calls and discussions, I always like wish there was more time for questions, or like it could be more of a discussion rather than someone like talking at you or like presenting a slide deck and expecting you to like remember everything. So I'm happy to talk more about any part of my path or the programs that I mentioned. Happy to give any advice, talk more about how I navigated the actual transition from academia to industry, whatever is like most helpful or most useful.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you made it that way. Um, and I can also reach out. I have a question, but I can also if there's anyone in the line right now and you'd like to ask questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. You can as well write your question in the chat and I can ask that for you. Remember, when you ask questions, probably you're asking for people who've not been able to make it today because they're traveling or, and then we're recording this event so they'll be able to benefit from the question that you ask and the answers that Dr. Michael gives. I'm wondering, the question that I have here is, what aspect of your graduate studies do you think supported you like in your role as a medical writer?
Good. That's a really good question. And honestly, I think I want to be generic and say all of it because it's true. So I guess the most obvious would be the writing skills. When I came into grad school, I was not the best writer, I will say. And I had a really good PI that like really worked really hard in terms of like giving me lots of like different comments and feedback and just helping me like understand how I can restructure my writing a bit to meet whatever audience that I was writing for. So I think I gained a pretty clear grasp at that during grad school. But then also just like knowing how to manage multiple projects at the same time. I think so in grad school, like I haven't met a single grad student who hasn't had the experience of wearing many hats. You're expected to do like all of it. And so going from that to industry where it's a lot more compartmentalized, like everyone has their specific role and they do their specific task. To me, I feel like I was a lot more efficient that way. And so when I made the jump from academia to industry, this type of environment, I felt like it was a lot easier. So I feel like my life is just like a lot more laid back and just yeah, not nearly as stressful as it was during grad school.
Ouch.
But I think grad school also helped me to just see the world in different ways. It helped
Mhm.
me to like think differently and anticipate different needs. So as a
Mhm.
medical writer, one thing that you do quite a bit is you're working with like multiple people at the same time, multiple different teams. And your job as a medical writer is really to get everyone aligned or everyone on the same page. And a huge part of that is like anticipating things that will come up and trying to like plan for those, but then also making sure that they're addressed early on rather than later. So I would say that those skills probably helped me the most.
Yeah, what was most challenging um, with the transition as you're looking for a role?
I think the most challenging part for me was just knowing that there are like fires to put out, but like just acknowledging that those fires exist and not necessarily letting them like get to you. Like I feel like in grad school there was a lot of pressure to
Yeah.
like put out those fires all the time. And I mean, I was working like over the weekend. I was working like past business hours, nighttime, morning time, just crazy stuff. And I feel like it kind of burnt me out really early on. And so I think shifting from that type of mindset to like one that's like, okay, yeah, there are fires, but like there's also many other people who can help. And so we don't have to like panic with everything. Um, and then let's see, was there, I guess another challenge too with medical writing specifically. There's a lot of terminology that, you know, especially if you are not used to like clinical research. I did do some clinical research during undergrad, but
Mhm.
I had shifted to preclinical research in grad school, and so getting up to speed on some of the terminology was a little bit difficult at first, but I think me doing the internship really helped out a lot with that, and I quickly became up to speed.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the pressure that graduate students face because they wear multiple hats. I think I read an article about the increase in mental health challenges
Yeah.
for like grad students. I wonder how are you able to deal with the pressure like having to
Honestly, this is gonna be like probably terrible advice. I'm not advising anyone to do this, but for me, I think I didn't take my mental health seriously until I had a
um,
child. I
mhm,
ended up having a child during grad school. It was
mhm,
during my fourth year of grad school,
mhm,
and once I had my child, my mindset completely shifted on everything. Everything was like, okay, now I'm not as like tied with my work. Like not everything is directly related, I guess.
mhm.
I am not my work, I guess is a better way to put that. I was able to separate it a lot and then from there create like better boundaries so
Oh,
that I didn't let myself get too drained mentally because like, before I had my child, I maybe could, afford to go into like maybe a deep depression or whatnot and just kind of
Yeah.
like dig my way out of it. But when you have a child, you kind of don't have time for that. So, I learned very quickly that I was gonna have to, find some coping mechanisms, healthy coping mechanisms. For me, that ended up just being telling myself it was okay to, watch my favorite TV show, towards the end
Mhm.
of the day, and it would be okay. And then also setting stricter boundaries around like working during the weekend and stuff like that. I know towards the end you kind of can't help it,
Yeah.
but for me, that's what I had to do, and also just forcing myself to like go outside and take like a little walk, if things got to be intense. Those types of things really helped me stay grounded mentally in grad school. And
And
then I also had a really good therapist. I can't talk about mental health without talking about my therapist. I got connected with another Black female therapist, and it ended up being one of the things that like almost single-handedly changed my trajectory in grad school.
wow.
So I was in grad school during like I was in grad school and then the pandemic happened, and
Mhm.
so it was very difficult to like still
Wow.
continue grad school and then not worry about everything else happening in the world. And then I had a friend during that time that connected me with actually one of the only Black female therapists in Iowa. And I had seen other therapists prior to her, and I didn't realize the impact of having someone who looked like me, and then
Mm.
also someone who had been through the whole grad school process and who I didn't have to like over explain things to her. She would just be like,
Gosh.
I
Gets
understand.
it.
Like, you don't have to spend your time like explaining why this is an actual problem. I know that
Mhm.
it's a problem. Let's figure out some strategies to overcome that problem. And so I was very consistent with that. I saw her very regularly and was very open about it during grad school. And I think those monthly sessions were really what like kept me going. Because I know towards the end I was like, whew, I don't know.
Yeah. Mm. I like that because I feel like that's practical advice. Like
Yeah.
we face challenges sometimes that are anticipate, like you don't anticipate, and then yeah, and then that's just a clear example of a pivotal moment, the way like things shifted for you and how you were able to navigate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
wondering what advice would you give like to folks who are almost there at the end of their graduate studies and they're thinking about work and they're worried? We are told like at the conference where we were like last week in Seattle, like there in recent years there are fewer and fewer academic jobs, and so like but it's still a good cause to pursue graduate studies, and there like you're a clear example of there are other alternatives. So it's
Mhm.
not so bleak. So I'm wondering what advice would you give to graduate students who are thinking ahead and maybe they have families and responsibilities and
Yeah, no, yeah, I completely resonate with that. And I will say like I was in a much more fortunate position than a lot of people are. I had a partner who was very supportive and was able to kind of support us like as I went through my transition out of grad school. But also like I know that not everyone has that opportunity, for whatever reason. But it's, I mean, it is difficult, and I don't think it's worth at this point like denying that. I think it's just a tough time in general to be graduating. I mean, the job market is horrible in both academia and industry. There are fewer like entry level positions. On top of the problem of like after you complete a PhD, it's not really clear like whether you're overqualified for entry level positions or you don't have enough experience to go right into some of the other positions. And to all of those challenges, I would just say lead by or follow your own curiosity. That's kind of what got me to where I am. I started with just like a genuine curiosity, like everyone else, wondering about AI and how they or how it would impact different fields. And at the time, I realized that okay, I mean, I wrote a lot of my thesis like using AI. So I was like, I know that this is gonna be like pretty important in terms of authoring at some point. I know that I'm kind of leaning towards going into medical writing. Let me look at what the leaders in the field are doing right now in terms of using AI to help with clinical authoring. And during that time, I would just cold email or cold message people on LinkedIn, just hoping to find out anything. I just went into every single connection call with the idea that I would just learn. I would come out with learning one new thing, and I learned so much stuff, so much random stuff doing that. But it helped me out a lot. And then I also was like, okay, if I can teach someone else one thing too, that's like a bonus. And so I approached every single call with that mindset. And I think in doing so, I kind of just like stumbled upon my own path.
Yeah.
I knew that I needed money, and so I started doing the AI prompting. And that paid pretty well like during the time, and um I was able to use it as like leverage, and then getting the experience just that wasn't part of the or of helping to develop an actual platform. That wasn't part of the internship curriculum. That was something that I would just was like, meeting with the head of that program, and it was something that was being discussed, and I just kept asking more questions about it until eventually I was in the room or I was in the room with these people when they were making the decisions, and all of that helped me like learn how to articulate things, how to go about testing these things, how to use these tools, stuff like that. And I realized once I went into my other internship that people are really curious about this. They don't know how to use this. And so by identifying that gap, I was able to kind of like scoot myself into this. It's a niche field. And I mean, it's still kind of niche, but I think like my type of role is what will maybe less of the operations part of it, but certainly like medical writers will be expected to know how to operate using AI tools responsibly. They'll probably have to know how to provide that oversight, and they'll probably have to be like willing to use the tools to some extent. So I think I kind of in doing so I got kind of inadvertently, but got ahead of the curve a little bit and positioned myself to be like a knowledge expert in that area. I think one of the things, kind of bouncing on one of your questions from earlier, one of the things that PhD is really good for is like really helping you to have that confidence or positioning yourself as a knowledge expert. I think in industry, it's highly respected when people have PhDs, and I think just bouncing off of that respect, you kind of, I mean, and then we just learn skills that are like just good in general, learning how to read through hard literature,
Yes.
and having to do that like really fast
Mhm.
is a
Mhm.
skill in itself, and yeah, so. Yep.
Wow. I heard someone say that the PhDs have the ability to ascertain knowledge. I think
Hmm.
to read and ascertain knowledge.
Yeah. And it's a
Yeah.
it's a skill that's like really necessary. I mean, and I
Yes.
think I would make the argument that it's increasingly more necessary as AI develops.
Yes.
Like we're going to need people to say like, hey, that's wrong. Like this is
Yes.
not, the right output. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. And I mean, I haven't seen any tools that develop beyond that at this
Mhm.
point in time. That doesn't mean, in the future it won't be different. But I know that all of these tools require some basic level of oversight.
Yeah. I wonder whether Sarama, mm, Tamara, or Yatunda, like whether you have questions you'd like to ask our guest. I think Sarama is joining us from India, if I can remember, if that's right. I might have gotten that wrong. And then, Yatunda, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask our guest? Okay, let's give them some wait time. As they're thinking about questions, where do you see yourself like going forward? Now, after grad school, you were able to,
Yeah.
somehow because of the timing. I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe the timing was just, I think, good for you to be able to join the AI bandwagon and skills that you had gotten from your PhD, like just combining those, and then this opportunity, like you just were able to catch that opportunity. Where do you see yourself, like going forwards in the next 5, 10 years? Um,
Yeah, that's always the big question, right? Where do you
yeah.
see yourself in 5 to 10 years? And
Mhm.
I mean, I would love to have like a clear cookie cut answer, but if it's one thing that I've learned, it's, just go where life leads you. So I'm still pretty open to everything. I do see myself maybe in more of a traditional medical writing role, like where I'm doing more of the authoring, but then also using AI tools. But I also could see myself kind of managing multiple different AI assisted work streams within an organization. I think that's something that I've really been able to lean into and I enjoy doing it. So, I mean, if the opportunity is still there, then I could definitely see myself doing that. I do think that there will be an increased need for like AI governance. So I've kind of looked into that as well. So just being the person that is responsible for making sure that that people are still using these tools responsibly and creating rules around them. Like you'd be surprised at the types of things that um, happen or can happen if they're not regulated.
Yeah.
So I'll give like a good concrete example of that.
Yeah.
The FDA, I think it was definitely this week. I think they issued the first official like AI based warning or like warning that was directly tied to AI usage.
Mhm.
There was a company that they were using AI-based tools to generate like different like labeling and things like
Mhm.
that for their one of their manufacturing branches. And it became apparent that they were not necessarily adhering to all of the quality standards, and
Mhm.
they were skipping the like, you use AI, but then you also have to, provide oversight after that. So it was kind of apparent that they skipped the oversight part and were just using the AI to produce, whatever for their drugs manufacturing, and it ended
Yeah.
up being caught by the FDA. And so it was
Wow.
like kind of a big deal because this is like the first time that the FDA issued a warning on that front. So yeah, I think
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot in that domain for sure.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot to
I
cover.
think Sarama has a question. So we
I
can,
just want I just want to know to ask Madam, what are the possibilities for you to get a job in academics after your this graduate program? This is medical related graduate program, what you have done, and
Yeah.
what are the training you are getting in AI for a successful academic career forward in the institution?
Are you asking like if there would be a chance
if
for me to like
yes,
come back to academia? Is that correct?
academia chances. Which course you have done beginning? I could not open in the beginning.
Oh.
Actually, which course you have done? Which graduate course?
Oh, well,
Medical,
I received a PhD in neuroscience.
PhD in neuroscience.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
and
are you
currently
looking
work in
for,
industry at Johnson and Johnson.
you are looking for industry or in academics?
Oh no, I'm already in industry in an industry role at Johnson and Johnson.
Oh, very good. The initial part of your talk I could not hear
That's
because
okay.
some
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry if I
connection.
was talking quietly or something.
That is what. Neuroscience, a nice area you have selected. Okay, what are the advanced studies you have done in neuroscience, and how that neuroscience effective for the emotional growth of the people?
How did neuroscience prepare me for like my current role? Is that what the question is, or
Emotional growth and neuroscience, how relationship.
Are you
oh,
talking?
oh, go ahead, Collins. Maybe you're gonna or understood.
So are you talking about the how PhD study in neuroscience, how that affects emotional growth? Did we catch you uh, clearly, Sarama?
Yeah, these neurotransmitters, all those we could know, and it is more in academics also. You can do a lot of help. She can do in academics also, universities also for
Okay.
youth, and nowadays for youth, for them that emotional part need to be scrutinized and need to be improved. For that,
Okay.
she can help them a lot.
Yeah. I think I get what you're talking about, like mental health, because emotional well-being affects
Yeah.
especially young people's mental health. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yes, mental health.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she talked a little bit about that earlier on. I'm not sure whether you were in or you were able to catch, because she or maybe I should give you time to
Yeah,
respond.
yeah, I did touch a little bit about staying grounded in like your mental health during grad school and how I was very clear and focused about like seeing a therapist who looked like me. That was something that was extremely important to me during grad school, and I've kind of carried it on as I am in my current role too.
Yeah.
In
And
Johnson and Johnson, what are the work you are doing over there?
So for the at Johnson and Johnson, I'm more in regulatory medical writing. So as an AI operations analyst, so I essentially oversee the tool that we use to generate clinical documents that we then send to the FDA after they're created. But yeah,
How
basically
long?
leading AI assisted work streams.
Okay, are you all very fluent with AI handling?
Am I, sorry, I didn't catch the last part.
are you fluent with working with AI? And I think probably what she's looking for is the connection between, I think you can probably summarize because you talked about this, the connection
Oh,
between from your PhD to how you got into Johnson and Johnson doing
yeah,
medical
AI.
writing and what you're doing there. So if you could just give a synopsis of like the flow
Yeah.
and
So essentially I did some AI prompting, just working as a freelance AI prompter. And then I also worked for XAI, that's Elon Musk's AI company. And so I learned a lot training Grok, the Elon Musk's AI tool or model, whatever you want to
yep,
call it. And so learned a lot about different types of AI models and how they can be used. But then I also helped develop an AI-based platform for specifically for medical writing. So to generate clinical documents. And I did that during my first internship out of grad school. And then on top of that, I joined another company, Genentech, where I also worked alongside the medical writers. So communicating the needs of the medical writers to their internal software developers, kind of doing the same thing and developing an AI-based platform that would allow them to generate the clinical documents that they needed. So all of that to say, I didn't really learn that skill during grad school technically. I did connect with this startup company while like at a conference that they were building like a digital health based platform for chronic pain alleviation. So it kind of tied into the work that I was doing a little bit during grad school. And that kind of opened up my eyes, I guess, to like the different tools that were out there or that were being developed at the time. And then I just kind of built on top of that and just kept, asking for the right opportunities. And then from there, I got recruited to Johnson and Johnson to help kind of do the same efforts in terms of using an AI-based tool to generate different clinical documents.
That is more comfortable for you, AI-based tools using. Are you finding it very comfortable?
Yeah, it's I mean it's been really easy to pick up on the go. I think I mean at the base of it it's just having general curiosity. I did learn how to code during grad school, which maybe helped a little bit in terms of being able to understand what the developers are doing in the back end. I personally have not really dealt with too much in the back end, but I'm more of like the on the management side of things because I understand what is going on in the back end, and then I can also use that to communicate with medical writers and then also know what their pain points are to make sure that the tool meets their needs essentially.
So you are comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
she.
Fairly comfortable at this point. Yeah,
But not
I
in,
I also
Madam,
will help
not,
like my family members to like incorporate AI into like their daily usage, just kind of off,
uh,
offline. But yeah, I am pretty comfortable with it at this point.
but not interested to work in academics.
Yeah, yeah, that's the question that she was asking. Like, are you seeing yourself joining academics? What are the chances?
Yeah.
Um,
Honestly, I would be very surprised if I went back to academia. I have grown to really love how things operate in industry. I think that they tend to be a lot more efficient in some aspects, and it just kind of is better for my overall personality. And then I mean the compensation is much better. I will say that. I mean, industry just kind of set up opportunities for myself that I would have never had before. I mean, I'm a first generation college student and grad student, and was able to come out of grad school and then get these jobs, and I mean, just purchase my own home, like my first home, like those types of things. So I'm forever grateful for that, and I don't. I not to s- I'm not gonna say like completely I wouldn't go back to academia because there are some aspects of it that I do miss, like being able to maybe have a little bit more freedom with your ideas. But I mean I also get that too in industry. I work in a pretty new field and it's very niche, and so a lot of the times it is okay, what do you think is best? And whatever I think is best is what I test, and then we see the results and then we decide what we're going to do based on those results. So very similar to academia, but maybe not as much of the like, asking a question or asking like a very specific question and then trying to like conduct experiments to figure that out and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't knock it completely, but the chances are pretty low for me right now, to be completely honest.
we have
But
7 minutes to the top of the hour.
okay, now but in academia, you will have good human interaction and you will become more happy. Do you think so? Because I am also from academia, so I
Okay.
always feel a nice time to be with the students and with the youngsters, and that
Yeah.
human interaction gives you a lot of happiness in life.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Yeah, no, I
thank
agree, but I mean I interact with humans every single day for for my work. I'm remote, but like so like it's not, I'm still talking to it through a screen, I guess.
yeah.
But I also like mentor too outside of it and stuff, so I still kind of get some of those aspects of academia too that I appreciate it.
Both the places you can work in academia as well as in industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Samara, for making this very, asking questions and making it very like interactive. Even for people who are not here, I'm sure after they watch the recording, they'll benefit from the questions that you've asked. And we have some other people that I would like, if they have questions to also ask, because we only have like 6 minutes to the end of this session. So we have Lauren, Patrick, who've just joined us. If you have any question that you'd like to ask our guest, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can type the question into the chat and I can ask that for you. So Tamara, if you also have a question, or Yetunde, if you have a question to ask our guest, please feel free to ask. And when you ask question, you're not asking for yourself, just like Sarama, you're asking also for people who are not able to make it, who will be able to listen to the interaction and learn from the question that we ask here. So Lauren, Patrick, the people if you have questions, please feel free to ask our guest. Giving some wait time. Okay, so we have a question in the chat, I think here that I can see. She says, I'm curious. This is from Lauren. I was not here earlier on, but I'm curious what advice you would give to someone who doesn't know if they want academia or industry. I think that piggybacks on Sarama's question. It's a continuation of that question that Lauren is asking. She's curious what advice you would give someone who doesn't know if they want academia or industry. Thank you, Lauren, for that question. We really appreciate.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, and I think it comes up a lot. I mean during grad school, I mean I feel like I toggled back and forth. Some days I would be like, well, maybe I don't want to go to industry. Like maybe I want to stay in academia, and vice versa, especially towards the end when I like didn't have a job. Getting ready to graduate without a job, I was like, well, maybe I should just stay in academia. But um,
Okay.
I think for me, it was just really taking the time to self-reflect on the things that I truly enjoyed about grad school. Like the things that I kind of approached it with, okay, here are the things that I do like every day or have done often. And then I made like another list that was like, okay, here are the things that like I don't mind doing or like I don't need coffee to get through them. So like those types of things really helped me out. But then not just that, but just talking to as many people as possible. A lot of people gave me that advice, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is exhausting, talking, blah, 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 blah. But one of the things that I touched on earlier was just kind of changing your mindset around reaching out to people and networking to, hey, this is an opportunity to learn. And at the end of the day, I think most people who are in grad school love to learn. And so once I like kind of flipped the script in my head a little bit to like, okay, I'm going to learn from this person. I'm going to reach out to as many different people as I can in industry, figure out the things that they do. I reached out to a lot of people in academia, a lot of people that do roles that aren't just, PI, stuff like that, and just really gained a better grasp at like how academia and industry like operate independently and where my skills would be best suited for. But as Sarama like kind of hinted at, like I mean, you don't have to just stay in one, I think viewing things as like absolute can kind of be detrimental sometimes. You can really
Mhm.
dig yourself into a hole if you aren't open-minded and just flexible and being willing to go wherever life takes you.
Well, that's a good point. We are like 1 minute to the top of the hour. So unless someone here has a question, shortly we can, yeah, call it a day for today. Unless someone has a question here, I don't see.
Yeah,
I
and
don't see.
even I think this organization is wonderful. I wish I had known about it when I was in grad school, but regardless, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out with any questions that come up if you like want to learn more about a different field within industry and you want to know if I like know someone in that field. Chances are I do, and I'm happy to always like set up another connection call. So yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always happy to help out any way that I can.
Thank you, Dr. Micah, for offering your time, honoring us with this time and talking to us, providing space to support others. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much. And so we're exactly at the top of the hour. I want to honor everyone's time. And thank you all for making it today. So enjoy the rest of your day and see you in our next session.
Yeah, thank you all.
Sir,